Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. What's going on, family? To another episode of TalkToHomeCon. Today we're, hitting a topic that's not just important, but is urgent. We're talking about the food deserts in Baltimore, man. How urban farming is changing the game. But let's break this down a little bit, right? For y'all that might not understand what I'm talking about. A food desert is a neighborhood where residents lack easy access to fresh, affordable, and nutritious food, right? That sounds crazy, right? But in Baltimore, it's not crazy. It's real life. Imagine, trying to feed your kids when the only store within walking distance is a corner store selling soda, chips, candy, and lottery tickets. Today, we're going to unpack it all: the challenge, the community response, the empowerment it brings, the systematic issues at play, and the seeds of change being planted, for our future.
Sometimes in life we gotta understand that things change, and even so maintain and keep the love the same. When you grow apart from your heart, the hurt can't be explained. It's a shame, I guess that's why they call them growing pains. Sometimes in life we gotta understand that things change, and even so maintain and keep the love the same. When you grow apart from your heart, the hurt can't be explained. It's a shame, I guess that's why they call them growing pains.
All right, we hear the phrase food desert, right? It sounds like some distant academic term, right? But in Baltimore, it's real life. Nearly 1 in 4 residents live in an area where fresh, healthy food is simply out of reach. You thought I was going to say where they can get it. No, it's out of reach. Think about that as 25% of the city trying to feed themselves and their kids without a proper grocery store nearby. And for children, it's even more sobering, right? Now, about 3 in 10 school age kids, right, grow up in these conditions where chips and soda are often more accessible than apples and spinach. Some parents don't have a car to get them anything other than the processed food, right? Corner stores dominate in these neighborhoods, and they only stock processed foods, right? It it's hard, and then some of these kids get to school early just to eat a healthy selection from a like, banana or apple or things like that because in them corner stores, food's horrible, bruh. And then what does that lead to? Higher rates in diabetes, hypertension, obesity, you name it. The health crisis is baked right into the geography, right? It's baked into the geography of where people live. If the only thing on your corner is fried chicken and sugary drinks, your body pays the price. And the crazy thing is, these outcomes aren't about individual willpower. It's about environment, right? Your zip code ends up shaping your health more than your doctor visit. Shorter life expectancies in food desert neighborhoods compared to wealthier areas. It's just facts, man. You live in Baltimore County, more accesses to food markets, right? You got things like Whole Foods and things like Sprout, Giant, Safeway, all those type of things, 3, 4 of them not that far away from each other, right? Then when you live in the city, they finally put a Whole Foods in the city, but it's near the condos and the hotels down in, Harbor East where we don't live, right? Let me paint you a picture. A single mother living in Sandtown has to take 2 buses just to get to her nearest full service grocery store. That's an hour travel just to grab produce, man, that many of us take for granted, right? Some people in that area take 2 buses just to go to Walmart because there's no real market around them outside of Walmart, right? Or think about here in Baltimore, we have a lot of seniors, right? And they rely on corner stores for milk, bread, maybe canned goods, because the supermarket is simply just too far. They don't have cars. The bus don't go there no more because a lot of the bus routes were changed. You got to find a free bus. And then that comes whenever it wants to. Fresh fruit, fresh greens, forget it. Unless you have, you know, in an area where they do like a farmer's market. And then it's people that wait until the Baltimore farmer's market on Sunday just to get their fruits and vegetables. And then they pack, and then even then they driving or, getting a ride or catching a bus for that. Excuse me. Now, it's not just an inconvenience, it's a barrier that shapes the entire diet, man. And it's sickening with your senior who's trying to stay healthy to live a little bit longer, have to travel further, rely on their corner stores just for a canned food or bread. No type of fresh fruit, no type of fresh vegetables. And most of our kids' intake of a vegetable is called French fries. Think about your own fridge. How far did you go to get that food? Or are you using things like Instacart and things like that just to get your foods because the supermarket not even close to you? Like I said, for some folks in Baltimore, it's almost a trip to the market mean a 2-hour ride on a bus for bananas and lettuce, bro. So what do you do when healthy food is out of reach? You grow it yourself now. And that's where Baltimore communities gardens step in. Me and my lady started growing our own fruits and vegetables. We have vehicles, right? We can get, but sometimes you don't want to have to always ride that 45 up, 45 back, the hour up, the hour back. That 25, 25 back, right? Strength to Love Farm in Sandtown. Let me read some of these off. 1.5 acres of former vacant lots. Black Yield Institute in Cherry Hill. a food serenity project, rooftop gardens downtown, um, vertical farms and warehouses. What else? And I want to say definitely. Hold on, let me get this up because I actually met these people in person um, for an event that I was actually going to and was in. But City Weeds, Dr. Farmer now, right? Be More Green, Food and Environmental Justice, Light, Water, Air. He distributes over 2 million pounds of food in the 21217 community, right? And that's located 341 West North Avenue, the Health Hub, diverse skills and, you know, perspectives. Then we have people like Anika Namandi. She's a flight bright Be More. She launched in 2017 where those blights are where homes were knocked down. Now it's just a vacant lot, right? That's what a blight is. But those type of people are coming up in the city and giving us fresh fruits. But like I said, that one is in 21217. We have many different zip codes: 21215, 21205, 21201, 02, 13, 14. You know what I mean? 22, 39. Like, we have a lot of different zip codes in the city where we need more vacant lots that were dumping grounds now produce kale, spinach, herbs, right? Kids planting seeds where trash once piled up. The community road became gardens as gathering spaces, block parties, cookouts, field trip, school field trips, bringing pride and ownership back to our neighborhoods. I know a lot of people right now talk about Baltimore, 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 but let's talk about what Trump can help us with. Tell Trump bring us some food. Get some, you know, healthier selections in this city. People are killing people because we keep putting bullshit in our body. When you don't have anything healthy to help produce right brain movement, right brain function, right brain decisions, this is what you get. You get a city of hate, a city of unsure, a city of violence, right? And we're not the only city here that's going through that, right? Highlight you know, it's a highlight of what we need and what is important. We keep building homes here in Baltimore, apartment homes, where once a block that was knocked down probably had 20, 30 families, now have 100, 200, 300 families because you building, apartments with 3, 4, 200, 300, in apartments in it. You know, in that block. It's just wild to see a block where people once said nothing good can grow here. Now seeing dozens of families, that's transformation. We're growing fruits, we're growing vegetables, right? We're taking these vacant homes, buying the lot, and now producing food for that neighborhood. But this is not just about putting food on the table. Urban farming is about empowerment. Let's talk about that, right? Let's talk about that. Nutrition workshops, teaching families how to cook with fresh produce. Kids learning soil science, you know, farming as a career path, you know, and sustainability, right? Farms selling to local restaurants, schools, and farmer markets, right? The job creation comes from farming, distribution, food prep, entrepreneurship. Now we're taking what we were looking for, those giants, those Safeways to come in our neighborhood. You didn't want to come, right? And the ones that do come are all third party supermarkets. And you know what I mean by that? The food was about to spoil at one of our favorite supermarkets. So they were sent there to that supermarket before the spoil date. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Now the residents see these farms as theirs, not handouts, but homegrown solutions, right? Black Yield Institute stresses food sovereignty, right? Control over your food system. A teen in a garden program said that I met at one of these events that I told you I met. Um, I never thought about farming before, right? And they said now I'm teaching my mom how to grow herbs on our porch. That's that's you don't understand how deep that is because you know we love calling our youth today YNs. We love calling them YNs, right? But some of these YNs are also taking a higher approach and not standing for the norm, right? When a kid pulls a carrot out the ground and say, I grew this, that's bigger than food. That's confidence, pride, ownership, you know? As inspiring as it is, we can't ignore the bigger picture, right? These gardens are powerful, but they're growing out of deep, systematic problems. Let's pull that back together. We had to start growing our own because it seemed like the government did not allow certain things and certain places weren't allowed. I always said that before we build any more apartment buildings, any more homes in Baltimore City, whoever coming here should definitely, if you want to build your 100, you know, room apartment, right? Your 200 duplex, right? Make sure you have a plot for a food market. We're gonna eat, right? We're gonna eat. And these food deserts exist because redlining, you know, this invent, you know, investments, right? Created long-term inequality, man. Grocery chains avoid low-profit neighborhoods. And it's sad because it really isn't low profit, right? It's just that you don't want to be around what you think is going to hurt you. Because it's places like Giants on 33rd, Safeway on 25th Street that been there for years and profited. But it's other parts of the city that places don't want to go. So we get those third party supermarkets, right? That we all become to love after a while. But like I said, it still takes a long ass time to get there. All those zip codes that I was talking about earlier, it's certain zip codes, 4 or 5 zip codes in one section, and there's no supermarket there. Not one. Right? Tax incentives for grocers is in underserved areas. We gotta pay for fucking bags. Right? We paying for bags and paying for the groceries. Leases for urban, farmers on city-owned land. Grants for corner stores that carry fresh produce, man. That's our policy solutions, man. We need that shit. Right? Let's do a collaboration, city government plus nonprofits plus residents working together. You know, an example of that is the Baltimore Food Policy Initiative pushing for systematic solutions, right? Similar struggles in Detroit, Philly, Chicago. This is a national issue. It's not just a Baltimore issue. But I'm talking about Baltimore because I'm here, right? And it's so crazy because when I was living in South Carolina during college, it was at that time they were still slow, but they had food markets all around. But it's the South, no farms and shit around, right? We can't just hand folks a shovel and say, you know, grow your way out of poverty. Grow your way out of poverty. Go ahead. It takes, it takes an infrastructure, right? A policy and investment to break these cycles. You know, so where does that leave us? Where does that leave us? What does the future look like in Baltimore? You know, if Baltimore keeps planting these seeds of change, what does the future look like for us? Does that put our future, our kids, their kids, in a better life, better health, right? Not having to rely on chicken boxes and Yakami and half and halves. Shit, me and my family, we juice, we grow, right? What's next? You know, we looking for a brighter future. You know, the vision that I hope to see is every vacant lot producing food instead of weeds. Rooftop gardens, on schools and public buildings. Farmer markets on every block, man. Owned by the locals. Why can't we, right? Urban farms supplying hospitals, schools, restaurants. More partnerships to make Baltimore a model for other cities. And this is my call to action to my folks in Baltimore. Volunteer. Help with planting, man, harvesting, and distribution, right? Support by buying produce from local farmer markets, right? And when we advocate, we got to push the policymakers to fund urban agriculture. Not just the little grant that they getting and shit because of XYZ. Make this a mandatory. Remove the food deserts and watch how the violence go down. The food deserts do not have to define Baltimore's story. I'm going to say this again. Food deserts don't have to define Baltimore's story at all. With seed, soul, and a community, we can create a new chapter. We can create a new chapter. Seeds don't just grow food, they grow futures. And Baltimore is planting a lot of them right now. It's a lot of change that's happening in the city. And I can see it, right? But we have to get rid of the food deserts. We have to. Now, Baltimore's challenge, man. The rise of farming, empowerment, systematic fixes, and future hope, right? Access to fresh food isn't a privilege. It's a human fucking right, bro. We have to realize that we do not have to keep eating the same bullshit. They programmed us to believe that chicken is our thing, ribs is our thing. Why can't watermelon, right? Spinach. Fuck all that salt that we put in it, eat too. You know what I mean? Because that's killing us. But why not grow our own herbs? It's not a privilege, bro. A privilege is having a fucking driver's license. That's a privilege. But fresh food is human right. I want to thank y'all for tuning in, listening to me today. And I hope some of y'all understood what I was saying and, can relate to what I'm actually talking about, right? I encourage y'all to start supporting local farms. Share this episode and reflect on your own food access. A city wants defined by food deserts can be redefined by food abundance. And it starts with us. And I understand, we talk about this, but we never push for it. It's time, man. So many, go outside your door and look at all the vacant homes or vacant lots that we can turn into a supply of health wealth, right? Health wealth. Man, it's your boy Conway. Thank y'all again. Like, subscribe, share this to, people who you think would agree with this, and even the ones that you don't think will agree with this or don't see it as a problem. So, peace.
Sometimes in life we gotta understand that things change, and even so maintain and keep the love the same. When you grow apart from your heart, the hurt can't be explained. It's a shame, I guess that's why they call them growing pains. Sometimes in life we gotta understand that things change, and even so maintain and keep the love the same. When you grow apart from your heart, the hurt can't be explained. It's a shame, I guess that's why they call them growing pains.